Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to an unscheduled live stream with Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. I'll skip all the intros. We have breaking news. About an hour or so ago, law enforcement, originally I thought it was the FBI, but through clarity of live streams, through drone footage, we saw it's the sheriff's department went back there. So law enforcement back at the home of Nancy Guthrie, looking into the sewerage system, either whether it's septic or sewers, a septic tank or a cesspool. One law enforcement personnel and sheriff's actually wearing a sheriff's badge on the back. You could see clearly it's a sheriff, and it looks like a civilian from perhaps a cesspool or sewer company out at the home of Nancy Guthrie. What did you make of that, Ed? You know, you're a crime scene expert. We look to you for clarity on this stuff. A lot of people are talking about it. But what was your take on why they went back there? Were they looking for her body stuffed inside there, or were looking for things, clothing items, things of that nature, flushed down into the toilet? Let us know, Ed.
Okay, as we spoke about this yesterday in our live stream, I said that one of the things that we would be searching for in my initial response to the outside of the house is sewers, and a part of sewers, either you have waste sewers, storm sewers, and in this case, if they don't have city-supplied waste sewers, the septic system, okay? And it appears now they're coming back and looking at potentially 2 septic systems here in the back of the house, or it could have been also dry wells. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it appears that it could be a septic system. Now, what I saw was a law enforcement personnel and an unknown person, possibly a civilian, and they looked like they went over to the pool area and took a expandable aluminum pole that we use to put a brush on or a skimmer on for maintaining the pool, and then they opened the lids on 2 of these tanks and started probing with this pole. And if they're just doing this now, they're a day late and a dollar short.
7 days.
And these systems should have been checked days ago. They should have been photographed, their location documented, the lids opened, and then lights used to look down into the bottom of these pits. And if they saw that it was filled with feces and liquid and so forth, then the systems should have been properly drained and searched. Now, you can't go down there without the proper equipment. You can't physically go into these pits without the proper safety equipment, because the septic systems create hazardous gases such as carbon monoxide and hydrogen sulfide, and it's a confined space, and so you need the appropriate hazmat teams to go down in here and search this. Yeah, look how wide these openings are. You can definitely dump a body down in here. Yeah. Okay, or other types of evidence that you're trying to hide, and probing around with a pole isn't an appropriate way of doing this.
Right. They're trying to mark this off their checklists of items searched, a day late and a dollar short, like you said, but poking a stick around to see levels. I mean, that's what you would normally see a septic company come, they poke the stick in there and say, oh, you're about 3/4, you need a pump out, or whatever the case may be. But here, let's take a listen. This was about an hour or so ago, 11:02 a.m. Mountain Time. So let's look at this and listen to what they had to say. This is what we're talking about. And then we're going to get into what happened after we went live last night and we were done. They went over to the home of Annie Guthrie, or Annie's house, which is where the last place Nancy Guthrie, her mom, was found, was the night of her disappearance. So let's take a listen and let's watch this.
Again, the aforementioned senior correspondent, Alicia Acuna, outside the home there. Alicia, we're watching these pictures from the Fox flight team. Clearly, there is something happening over there. We don't know exactly the nature of it. What can you tell us from your vantage point?
Hi, Kevin. I can set the scene here for you. About an hour and a half ago, we had a sheriff's deputy come up, park in front of the home. That caught everyone's attention. Now, not too long ago, within the last 20 minutes or so, we saw an unmarked vehicle with law enforcement drive up. The two spoke, they got back in their cars, and then we saw yet a third member of law enforcement walk up. 3 people walked to the back, 2 to 3 people walked to the back, and you can see them now. And they are what our drone team is describing to us. The Fox flight team is describing this as possibly a manhole. I heard Jonathan say that it could be some sort of water drainage. Either one of those is possible. We're not quite sure, but they've been poking around in there almost like they're looking for a sample of some sort. Looking into this area. We've been kept back just a bit, actually. Usually when they have some sort of activity here at the site of Nancy Guthrie's home, we're often pushed back. The media is pushed back so they can do their job. Clearly, they're not concerned about that right now because we've all been allowed to stay as law enforcement continues its work to the back. Kevin?
Let me ask you about the searches that were happening, Alicia, Saturday over at the home of Annie Guthrie. Have you heard anything about the nature of those searches?
Everything we've gotten has been from our Fox Digital team. They were on site when about 4.5 hours after Savannah Guthrie and her siblings released that most recent video. They arrived at that home. They were there for about 2.5 hours. And according to our Fox team on the ground there, they could see, they could hear clanking of some noise being made. They could also see in the garage area what seemed to be flashes of light coming from a camera. And then they noticed in another whole opposite side of the house, we don't know if it was a bedroom, but it was definitely a different room. They started seeing flashing lights, camera flashes, they assumed as well.
And I hate to interrupt these things, but we have to. What is this guy doing? What is he doing with that stick?
I don't know if he knows what he's doing, but he's poking around down there. I don't know if he's looking, to see the depth, or is he poking around to see if he's going to impact a body or anything like that. Now, I will tell you that, in some clandestine burial grave crime scenes that we've been to, that they make these T-rods that we do use to probe the ground, looking to impact a skeletal remain, or in my case, it was a suitcases full of skeletal remains, because a mafioso disposal expert named Tommy Karate used to cut up the people that the mafia would murder in a bathtub in Brooklyn, and then put them in suitcases, come out to Staten Island, and go into this wooded area and bury them in the suitcases. And so we got a tip based upon a wiretap that he had done this in this area, and we went looking for them, and we did in fact find them. Right. We used ground penetrating radar, we used all kinds of things, but it was in a wet clay type environment. And when we tried all the other methods and it didn't work, and then when we did the probes, we hit the suitcases with the probes, and we were able to dig up those suitcases and recover those remains.
Hey, Ed, with right next to the secondary, this is the second manhole cover, or whatever you want to call it, cap that they've taken off. It looks like there is some type of either electrical box here. Ed, correct me if I'm wrong. You're the master architect. What do you make of where my cursor is here? This white kind of squared box. It looks like it could be an outlet of some sort.
I don't know. Maybe it's a sensor, or maybe it's something that's wirelessly feeding back information about what's going on inside of this tank. Say the tank fills up and it needs to be drained. Right. Maybe it's something like that. I'm not familiar with that. I haven't seen that, but it could be just an outlet, an electrical outlet that's run out there to assist in the servicing of this location. Now there are two open holes. There's one where the gentleman to the upper right is right now, and you can see the lid up to you can see the lid now over there, and then this one, and they're right behind. You can see the air conditioned condenser units, so they're right behind the structure of this house. Okay. So, but again, this all should have been done more appropriately early on in the investigation. Okay, if it hasn't already been done so, okay, properly in the beginning, and now they're just coming back maybe based upon new information they got from that cryptic email from the kidnappers, or whatever the case, or they really do need to properly search these tanks.
Yeah, and like you said before we went live, this is so improper. This is so Bush League. This guy has a flashlight, and he's looking as he's poking. Again, the purpose, time is of the essence here. Why on day 7? Today is Sunday, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. This is now a full 1 whole week, 7 days. You would have thought if they were going to do something like this, it would have happened on day 1 or 2, not on day 7. And that's the frustrating part. And people are getting confused and be like, well, why were they searching last night back at Annie's house, at Annie Guthrie's house? They came out with 1 brown bag, and we're going to get into that in the second half of this. But they didn't bring an awful lot of stuff out, evidentiary wise, as far as the video captured. And he had a folding table that, as you mentioned, he probably brought that in to set up his equipment on, or to work with, like a folding table, right?
Yeah. And I'm hoping here at this site that, again, that they did the proper documentation. They dropped an infrared or thermal imaging camera down in there, or they shined lights down in there to get a visual as to how high the excrement and the liquids were in these tanks, and and now they're putting the covers back on, and they're going to later on go back and take that pool, that aluminum pole, and put it back by the pool.
Look how light those covers are. You just pick that thing right up and just.
Yeah, no, they're plastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a difficult thing to do. And again, look, they want to leave no stone unturned, but like I said in the beginning of this, the time is of essence here. And I think that if there was anything inside there, as you said, this is not probably the proper way to fully check that off the box, like septic system, drainage system, or whatever that is, was completely checked. You got 2 people. You got 1 detective who probably doesn't have a lot of experience in this. And people are all pointing a finger at the sheriff. The sheriff that was giving the press conferences, he is not doing the investigation. I mean, let's be clear about that, right? The Sheriff Nanos is not doing 1 bit of investigating. He's just an executive. He's the top dog, but he is not conducting any part of this investigation. It's the homicide squad and the FBI. So, when asked who's the lead on this, he said, there's no lead. We're all working together. Did you hear him say that, Ed?
Yeah, I did.
Here in the Tucson.
So what were you going to say, Ed?
No, I'm just befuddled by the organization here and how things are being done and when things are being done. And I'm just a little confused as to their operations.
Yeah. Gayla Dennison, who is a great friend of the show, she says in the chat, Ed, you need to offer some remediation training for the Pima County Sheriff's investigators. Look,
do you remember the case in Connecticut that we covered extensively? I forgot the name of
Otis Doulos.
Yes. So they went into his septic system in the back there, and they drained the whole thing out, to search the contents of that septic system. So, I mean, this is, in these types of situations, these are kind of standard practices these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I'm not quite sure how much experience they have in this type of case. How many times has the Pima County Sheriff's Department handled a high profile case like this? Probably this is their first. But again, they have a lot of resources. He said at the podium that he didn't even have to call the FBI. Usually the FBI has to be called in, Ed. You know that for a fact. FBI doesn't always come and say, hey, here we are. Can we help you? this was on the national stage. The FBI director, Kash Patel, probably told his team and his people, hey, reach out, see if they need help. And that's how this went down. And now they have the full resources of the FBI, and we saw them at that house doing a very thorough. I asked you last night, what's the attack plan? What's the game plan? They have an attack plan. They go in and they do a attack meeting in a controlled environment, and they look at the schematics of the residents and they check off their checklists. Now, yes, they did get a late start with this thing. And that first day when the sheriff said, we are air assets, we have fixed wing drones, we have fixed wing aircraft, we have helicopters, we have this, we have that. We covered some of the best searchers on the ground. Do you think one of the searchers stumbled across this and said, hey, this might be something that we would want to search? Like if Dave Rader and Twyla Cisco were on the ground here with the team, they would be like, we want to look in this, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just those. It's going to be the whole neighborhood, okay? Because obviously, in this case, there's no city sanitary sewers, and all the other neighbors are going to have a very typical or similar setup as to this. And, and if all of this is in behind their houses and at night you really can't see anything, it wouldn't be too difficult to just, walk over to the neighbor's adjoining property and open up the lid to one of these things and dump evidence in it, or dump the victim in it, God forbid, right? And
pieces of a victim or clothing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Things of that nature that, we saw with Rex Heuermann some 17 years later or whatever, 13 years later. They opened up his drain in his bathroom. Remember that, Ed?
Mm-hmm.
They opened up that little drain hole in the middle of his bathroom floor, and then they cut part of his tub out to get to the main drain line.
I've done that numerous times. The traps, I've taken the traps out of sinks and out of showers and tubs and toilets and so forth and so on. I've removed numerous things like that in the hopes of gathering evidence. And sometimes we get hairs, and sometimes we get blood, and sometimes we get even maggots. And the maggots are good evidence.
Right, because they're eating whatever's in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ed, I want to just go to the chat. If you're a first-time viewer and you're new to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we are two retired New York City police detectives. Let us know in the chat. Say, I'm new. If you're from the Tucson, Arizona area, or even from Arizona, let us know where you're watching from, city, state, and I'd like to give a couple of shout-outs if we can, because it's only fair to the live chat. Our audience is what's most valuable to us. So the live studio, the live audience, while we're here giving these presentations, it's always great to see where people are coming from. And if you're new, Scotland is checking in. A lot of people from international and checking out.
Yeah. Alba Bra.
Yeah. Ed showing off. You're a show off, Ed.
Okay.
But New Mexico is here. Good to see you. Pennsylvania, Langhorne. Watching from Ireland.
Erin Gobra.
Lindag 7109, new from Massachusetts. Hopefully not Canton. Oh, it doesn't matter. There's some good people in Canton. Hello from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Good to see you. Thank you.
Okay, Alberta.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat.
Yeah, Midland, Texas, Cape Town, South Africa, Michigan, Savannah, Georgia. Yeah, we got them from all over. Central Arkansas, Colorado, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. All right.
Love it.
In Europe, doesn't say where. New Yorkshire, England. Okay, cheers, mate. And New Zealand.
Look at this one.
Kia ora.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Come stai? Bene, molto bene. Ciao.
Ashpet.
All right, Philippines is checking in. Liz from
Senegal. All right, Philippines. I was just there.
Where were you, Ed, when you were in the Philippines? If you don't mind. Manila. Nice. Wow, a humongous international audience watching this case. This is just going to show how far the reach is getting. If you're new, please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit our notification bells, so this way you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed when we go live or upload another video. Just to give you a little background, Ed Wallace is a retired New York City first grade detective, crime scene expert. Ed was a leader in his field, processed over 2,700 crime scenes while working 2 decades in the New York City Police Department. I worked in the Fugitive Enforcement Division, so I was great at hunting down violent criminals, and I did that for over a decade. And then my other decade was spent on the street, working in narcotics, working in, plain clothes and so forth. So yeah, it's great to see everybody here. Thank you from my couch, says Hoppy Hoppy. Good to see you. Thank you. A lot of different people. Look, I saw Sweden in the chat. Yeah, look at that.
Lafayette, Louisiana.
Got
all right. I know that area well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it's a shame because Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, is the victim here. We don't know if she's dead or alive, but we do know that her daughter last night gave a 20-second plea to the abductors, kidnappers, whatever you want to call them. We don't know if it's one or more, but we'd have to assume there would be more than just one person to handle an abduction of this nature, offering to pay whatever it is. Now, the pay supposedly was what, $6 million in cryptocurrency, Ed?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of coin. But again, we talked about this last night. It's so important if you have elderly parents to pay for that annual subscription, month to month, annual. I pay it annually. Have cameras on the inside and outside of the home of elderly who, especially ones that can't get around well. What if they fall? Even that life alert, I've fallen and I can't get up. My stepmom is in her 80s. She lives alone all the way out in Suffolk. She has a life alert and she wears it around her neck. We have Ring video doorbell cameras outside, in the back by the shed, in the back of the house. So we pay for that. If you have an elderly mother or father who insists on living alone and wants to be, independent, then you got to try to have that buffer there. And that's what we could learn from this. There's a takeaway, many of us do have elderly parents. You, Ed, yourself, have that going on. It's important that you take care. We have to look out for our elderly loved ones. They looked out for us when we were babies, right? So
it's our duty.
It's our duty. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Jersey Dogs in the chat says 6 million doesn't sound like too much when Savannah is worth over 40 million. So why did they hesitate to pay the ransom?
Well, I know initially there was no proof of life.
Right. Yeah.
But now it appears, from the video last night that Nancy may be dead, and they were going to pay just to recover the body so they can give her a proper burial. Yeah.
EM Organizer says, good question. Why would the police let media drones cover this? We've been seeing drone footage for days now.
Yeah. Well, if there is no restrictions on flying the drones in this area, how are they going to stop it?
Right. Yeah. As long as there's no restrictions. But we heard last night on a couple of media outlets that we put on that there was, I think it was from Brian Enton. He was interviewing the retired Border Patrol agent. He said there's a light ordinance in Tucson. You can't have lights because of some university project that's going on. And the sheriff's department and search and rescue weren't allowed to use floodlights. This would be an emergency exception in my eyes, right? Let me know what you think in the chat. You think it's an emergency exception, an 84-year-old, limited mobility, heart condition, medications, possible abduction, to floodlight the shit out of this whole area? I mean, I don't think anybody would complain about that, but they didn't do it. That's crazy. That to me is just mind-boggling. For public, in the best interest of public safety, saving a human life, or finding somebody who's lost or elderly that walks off. In the beginning, they didn't know what the hell happened. So they didn't light up this place. I find that shocking. I really do. I find it shocking. And it just is a testament to how insane things are nowadays. And, look, Rules are made to be broken in emergency situations like this. This place should have been lit up like a Christmas tree, but it wasn't. So
Yes.
Ed, I wanted to ask you, the search last night at Annie Guthrie's home, which is from this location, they went in there in the middle of the night. They probably got a court order, obviously, from a judge. The home was vacant. Do you think, and I'm going to ask you two questions. Do you think that they were notified to vacate the premises that were going to be coming in hot on Saturday night? Or were they, because they couldn't stay there anymore, or they were afraid that they're maybe at a new location? Because we're going to talk about safety for the Guthrie family. Don't forget, Savannah has children, is married, and has kids. They don't look young, but they're various different ages. And safety could be an issue. But what were they going in there to do, Ed? What were they checking? It didn't look like a big contingent there. It looked like we saw one detective or one sheriff's deputy come out with a brown paper bag. And what's in those brown bags? That was a lot, Ed, but I got it out.
I don't know what they were doing now. If they can either get consent from the daughter and the son-in-law, or a warrant from a judge. And then if they got a warrant, then they have to serve the warrant on the individuals that own the property. And then they make their entry per the warrant. They do the prescribed work that's in the warrant, and then they leave. Now, they went in there with a table, and they came out of there with that table and a brown paper bag containing unknown items. Now, usually when we're using brown paper bags, we're putting evidence that may contain DNA in that type of packaging. So don't know exactly what they did in the garage. We did see them take some photographs. I saw the flash pop off several times through the windows, and the press was out there in the streets, and they managed to capture that the flash going off while they were taking photographs inside there. And then they put up some kind of materials and possible clothing and so forth over the windows to kind of keep the press from being able to look inside to see what they were actually doing in there.
The press and public have had quite a good video shots of the home here that we're looking at, Nancy Guthrie's home, and also Annie's home as well. But we saw our good friend Brian Enton walk up to the front of the Guthrie residence of Nancy's home, and we saw bird feces droppings, and we saw the blood. We looked at that, and we went over that last night.
Yeah, there also appeared to be broken glass there too.
There was a lot of different debris. I saw an Amazon package to the right as well that was not touched or picked up. But the thing of it is what I have a hard time as well looking past, is that the sheriff's department knows that they have a huge high profile case on their hands. What would it hurt? What would it have harmed if they took one cruiser with one or two deputies in it and sat it in the driveway with the turret lights, or out on the street with the turret lights in? That would have prevented people from coming up on that property even after they took the crime scene tape down. Because remember we talked about this with Barbara Butcher with the University of Idaho Brian Kohlberger case. They had that crime scene tape up for like a month, remember? Mm-hmm. And then they took the tape down. Once that tape's down, it's free reign for anybody to come up on it, to trespass, for people who are nosy and that just want to get a look and go around. So now that property, they know that there's nobody there from the family, and they know that no cops are there. It's free game for anybody. And look, this is day 7. This was this morning, just hours ago. They're out there poking around in the septic system or the drainage system or whatever the hell that is there. And anybody could have popped off that cover and did the same thing if they were nosy. No?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because like all of these things seem to be behind the houses. And there doesn't appear to be, like in this case, this property has a brick wall around the main portions of the back area. But behind that wall are open areas like this, where apparently the septic system covers and so forth are located, that are not walled in and or protected in that manner.
Yeah. And you see the papers here. This might be maybe some type of schematic of the system, perhaps, Ed?
Or I believe the sheriff's officer was holding a pad or something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sarah Irish from the chat said it should have been a crime scene from the beginning. They deemed it a crime scene up front. The sheriff was clear about that. This is a crime scene. A crime happened inside there. So what was the upside to breaking that crime scene tape? What would it have hurt them to leave yellow crime scene tape around the whole entire perimeter of that property, or that circular driveway, those 2 entrance points, or if there were more, have crime scene tape? What would it have hurt to just leave it up? And that's the problem that the biggest problem, well, one of the many, but one of the biggest problems I have, is that they let this thing open and left this thing open for free game for anybody.
Well, see, that's the thing. In the beginning, in these types of cases, you don't, with all the twists and turns that occur in these investigations, what does it hurt to hold the scene as long as possible? I know, you may have a lack of manpower or whatever the case may be, but you're telling me that you can't secure this location for a greater period of time and maintain its integrity. This way, if you have to come back, which they have multiple times now, come back to the scene and
Right.
looking for new evidence and so forth, that now you can say, hey, it was secured. So the evidence that we're finding in here now isn't tainted.
Right. And I trust your expertise with over, the amount of crime scenes that you've processed. And I keep going to this. Practice makes perfect, and you have a ton of expertise. And when you see stuff like this, you and I have been doing this since 2021. It's so frustrating because, you look at this and you teach this stuff. There's national standards to follow. And it just blows our minds, and especially yours, because this is your field of expertise that you were in the New York City Police Department, largest police department in the United States. And you see this stuff, and it's just mind-blowing because you want to live in these nice, cushy areas in rural America, but you pay a price when, God forbid, a situation like this happens. And, people will get mad when, we critique what's going on, and it's not Monday morning quarterback. We're looking at what's happening, just like you guys are looking at it. But Ed, you teach forensics and evidence collection. I've sat in on one of your, I didn't sit in for the whole class, but I've sat in on the massive amount of equipment and expertise that you show many different departments throughout the United States and across the world, for that matter.
Yeah,
This is goddamn frustrating.
right.
No?
See, and I know every jurisdiction is different, but and our New York City Police Department isn't fair to compare all our assets and capabilities to these other departments, because we have far greater assets and capabilities than most law enforcement agencies. So everything that would have been needed to be done in that septic tank, we could have done in-house, all by ourselves, without having to call a septic company or any of that other stuff. And our emergency service unit, and we have all the equipment needed to go down safely into these tanks once and go and search inside of the tank, protected from the environment down there in a confined space and so forth. So we're very different, but that doesn't mean, okay, if your agency doesn't have those assets, that you can't get them with a mutual aid agreement, or ask the feds, who definitely have those assets, to come in and assist with this as well, to help search those septic tanks. All those septic tanks in that immediate area, should be looked at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Surrounding neighbors, I'm sure that they've interviewed all of the surrounding homes in that area. We know that they went to that gas station and they pulled, video and a vehicle, and there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we're not privy to that's happening in this case. So kudos to the men and women who are working night and day on this thing. It's just that with the way we have coverage like this drone footage from today, I mean, when you called me and told me about this, I raced home to see it. And when I found it, I was shocked because I learned so much in the years that we've been together about, the standards and the steps that need to be taken to preserve. Because think about it, Ed, if they collar somebody, this is evidence that's got to be presented in court. This has to uphold in a court of law. So it has to be done right. And, yes, granted, we don't know a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Remember how long we saw them inside Nancy Guthrie's home with the cameras? We saw the cameras flashing. They were in a particular room, whether that was her bedroom or whatever room that was. There was a lot of investigators coming in and out of that residence. But, it has to uphold in the courts, and it has to be done right. As you said, there's no do-overs. Crap in, crap out. I hate to say it like that, but that's what you say, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's go to the chat as we watch this. I'm going to change gears a little bit. And let's answer a couple of questions. So Hope Always 247 says, do you two believe it was a kidnapping or a homicide followed by a scam to get the money? It's a good question, and anybody has a guess at that. I'll let you go first, Ed.
I can't say. I can't say if it one way or the other. But we do know there appears to be an attempt to extort money. So they're trying to make it out to be a kidnapping, and could have been an interrupted home invasion or a burglary. And then it just morphed into this. I don't know, because the sophistication of the communications going back and forth seems to be far greater than something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and initially, Ed, I said to myself, what's the upside to abducting an 84-year-old sick woman who's not of good health, that can't really walk well? And quickly my answer is money. And here we are. We had some fake, persons or people that were arrested that were trying to get funny and jump in on the ransom notes sent into some of these TMZ type outlets and local outlets. But I mean, money sometimes is the root of evil, right? It's not the root of all evil, but money is what is surrounding this case. This is not a random selected family. This is somebody who had lots of work done at an expansive home, as we see here in these drone footages. It's not a small little, home that would not catch somebody's eye. And all it takes is one, and I'm not saying it's the workers. All it takes is a group, say a large group, like a roofing group that did that white roof, the painting or whatever they did to that roof. Let's just say 30 or 20 guys were working there, right? And one of them just happened to be at a party where there's some unscrupulous jagaloon or some not good people, and they start talking about, hey, I was working at the Guthrie home in Tucson. It's in such a remote area. It's down a really dark street, and they're just talking about it. Yeah, we did the roof. We worked our asses off there. And somebody that's not a good person hears that, and then all of a sudden it could happen as easy as that. I'm not saying that that's how this happened, but it just, you have to wonder, how expansive is this investigation? It's far and wide. They're looking at everybody and everyone, every interaction with this family, with this home, how many people have been there to do work on the plumbing, work on interior stuff. It looked like a well-kept ground. So we know there was groundskeepers, landscapers. They're not doing it themselves. They're certainly not. You have a beautiful pool, beautiful property, well-kept grass and groomed in the backyard. So it is a large-scale investigation. Look, this is a look at the house, and this drone footage is, look, you look at the news media out front. So everybody has direct access to this place right now, but it's anybody's guess of what happened to Nancy. But what we do know is that she's missing. She's gone. And without medication, the chances of her being alive with bleeding, Ed, you saw the droplets of blood. You described that last night. Can you just go over that again quickly about those? We saw the little drops, but then we saw that one area with tons of little droplets down there. Can you just go over?
there was a significant amount of what we call 90-degree blood drops, meaning they're, the person that is letting the blood out is dripping blood down with no force greater than gravity, and creating these large circular stains, which suggests that the impact angle was 90 degrees. Okay. Now, the size of the stains are a function of what it impacts, the volume of blood, and the height that the blood drops. Okay. Now, there are other stains that are commingled, very tiny blood drops. Okay. That are commingled with some of the larger drops, and then you can sequence those. But you can see in this area that it's very slow movement. There's hesitation here. That person that deposited all of this had to be in this area for some time. Now, if you back it up just a little bit, in the next tile over, you'll see another series of drops that suggest right there. You'll see another series of drops. Those are multiple drops there. That suggests that that person was there. Again, hesitation. They're there for a period of time to drop that amount of blood there. So it's like someone was like maybe holding the victim there, waiting for something, or, and the victim was bleeding there. And then they slowly moved towards the front. And you're trying to look also to see if you could see any directionality in the blood drops by the spines around the drops. Now, again, could this be aspirated or blood? Yes, it could be.
Or a sneezing, is that what you're meaning?
Coughing, sneezing, or spitting, right? But there's also blood dripping into blood here. Okay, so that creates what we call these satellite spatters in 360 degrees. Now, if she did spit this out of her mouth or something like that, then there'll be amylase and saliva commingled with the blood, and that should, if you swabbed it, the analyst should be able to find that very easily.
Yeah, and this was given to us. We were able to see this courtesy of News Nation. Brian Enton, he walked up either with his cell phone or his camera guy who's with him all the time. And this was after they're not trespassing. The tape was taken down. I mean, technically it's private property, but whatever the case may be, they're free to go up and knock on the door to try to ask questions. And that's what he did. He knows the guidelines to follow. The crime scene tape was down. The sheriffs left. There was no authority at the Guthrie residence. And therefore, Brian or anybody with a camera or a phone or anybody could have walked up and recorded this. But I'm actually happy that he did record it, because it gives us a little bit of insight into what Nancy Guthrie went through, because we know that this blood, as according to the sheriff, was sent to the lab and confirmed to be hers. Correct, Ed?
Yes.
All right, that was a great description of the blood. Anybody else have blood questions in regards to this this reporting? Let's look at the chat real quick. Put your questions in the chat. #Ed, #DutyRon, and we'll gladly answer if it's about the blood here or about anything as far as the case goes.
Keep rolling that footage right where the last stains were. I mean, okay. Yeah.
I don't see broken glass.
No. There's a lot of bird droppings and so forth.
Yeah.
All right.
It's an overhang, and birds are probably, again, roosting up top and crapping there. Probably.
Is it considered a lot of blood? No, not really. It's not considered a lot of blood. Lip bleeds, nose bleeds can be they can bleed a lot, but she was also on blood thinners, so that concerns me very much. I mean, if she was on blood thinners, and this is her blood, we know it's her blood, that could be a very serious, a very minute cut or a minor impact to a lip or nose to cause bleeding can be quite dangerous. Okay. Depending on the dosage of the blood thinners and everything that she's on. I know, my mother is on, it has a pacemaker, is on blood thinners, and we know that if she falls and hits her head, we have to rush her to the emergency room regardless and have her checked out immediately.
Yeah, my grandmother was on Coumadin. It was tough to get that right. And anytime she bumped her arm or her leg against a wall or on a chair, anything in the kitchen, she would bleed or she would get a really bad hematoma, and you'd have to get it checked out, like you just said. Kelly is sending stuff in all caps, and thank you for that because that stood out. Kelly the Kitty says, DutyRon, did they bring in the dogs? Yes, to investigate. Thank you, Kelly from Australia. Put another shrimp or a prawn on the Barbie, please.
Now, there was a question in here that I can't put a time frame on when this blood was deposited. Okay. The only way that could be done is by investigation, is saying, hey, for those people who've been in and out of this location, when was this first seen? Did anybody notice this before this? So if you can get somebody that was in the house prior to the date of the abduction, and they could say, well, when they were in there at this date and time, I didn't see any blood present here. Other than that, there's no way to date when the blood got there.
Right. Look at the question I have up there. This is a question for you, Ed. It's always complicated. It says, do you see?
Yeah, I would have to get better images, but there were some in the beginning towards the step away from the entrance door that had what appeared to be some directionality, and it appeared to be. If we can stop right there, go back a little bit. Stop. No, we passed it. All right. Like some of these tinier stains do have some directionality to them, but again, I would need better images of them to get a better idea of the directionality.
Yeah, it's difficult to do that from this. And
yes, from a moving video.
I'd also ask Ed, could there be a possibility, and I mean, no, they're not giving us everything, but could there be a possibility that there was blood inside that house? Because they don't have to tell everything about this.
And nor would I. In an investigation, I would hold those details to, close to my vest. I wouldn't be putting that out to the public because, again, it's one of the ways we can validate what a potential suspect is telling us, or in this case, what the person looking for the ransom is telling us, because apparently the person's communicating about looking for the ransom is giving details about objects and items in the house and the cameras and all this other stuff. So, Ed, given that there's no blood we can see beyond the front door area, would it make sense that she was assaulted on this area and then brought back into the home? Again, I would need further references. I'd have to look at the door, have to look on the inside of the house. Would have to look further away from this patio area here where the steps go down to the driveway. I would have to look at a lot more things and to get a better opinion about that.
Anybody in the chat in this Tucson area, I just want to get a grip or just get a handle on if there's anybody inside the chat here that's in this area, because it's always great to get a perspective of someone from the area. We know that the terrain and the indigent wildlife in this area, and this is a warm part of the United States. We're freezing cold and they're pretty warm right now. So I just was curious if anybody's in that area. People are still asking questions about the septic tank. What's in the septic? Ice and dump. Okay.
That whole there was a question here that from this video, it appears that this area here was not processed for fingerprints by the door, by the missing ring camera or whatever that was there. I don't see any white fingerprint powder, because usually if we're going to use powders, we're going to use a contrasting color powder to the background. So the background here is dark. We'd use white. In many cases, I don't see it. That doesn't mean that it wasn't done. It could have been done and then wiped down, but I don't know many crime scene techs that wipe down their work after they're done. Right. It's usually still there. So I don't know if this area was swabbed for DNA, if they made a decision somewhere down the line not to dust for fingerprints and go for DNA and swab that area. So therefore, if they swabbed it, and if there was, and they didn't process for DNA fingerprints first, then the fingerprints could have been disturbed if they went with that methodology, processing DNA first and so forth, and then they didn't want to process for fingerprints.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't look like it's been processed on the outside, like you said, and you would think that this whole thing would have, at least the dusting on it, but we're not seeing anything. It looks like none of the surface was tested. Maybe at this point they didn't do it. Maybe they were just, really.
As I said, maybe they just swabbed for DNA and went that route.
There you go. Thank you so much, Jessica. Vanessa 7072. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah, that's easy and free. If you're not yet subscribed, you just hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. So this way you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live and upload new videos. We're going to continue to cover this case. But the story of the day is, as we said, investigators out at the home, again, looking through a sewer search, some type of septic system, whatever the case is, drainage system. And that was something that really was kind of odd at this point in juncture. It's 7 days. She's gone 7 days, and you got a guy poking a stick into what we have to argue and guess is some type of septic system or some type of drainage system. What's the purpose of this? There was nothing taken. We didn't see him come out with that stick and do a bag swab or whatever and put it into. He just took the stick out and walked away with it. No?
Yeah, well, he laid the stick down, and then later they came back and they put the covers on, grabbed the stick, and went over to the pool area.
Ed, did you see any footprints in that blood? There was a question in the chat, and there's people still talking about the blood.
Again, there might have been one area that had like these linear blood marks. And again, I would need better detail to look at that, but I didn't see anything that jumped out at me as a footwear impression in blood.
Yeah. Look who just joined us, Richella and Pete Pranzo. Good to see them in the chat. Richella says, hello all. When I have a minute, I come here to listen because I know I get the latest and the best information. Thank you, Ron and Ed. Thank you. Thank you. We love you guys. We love yous. Adibi says, I'm new to the chat, watching from Denver. Good to see you. Thank you for joining.
Well, welcome from the Mile High City.
I'll be in Denver in September. My brother's daughter, my niece, is getting married, and I'm looking forward to going to Denver to see. Thursday, A. Adams says the ransom is a hoax. That's a possibility. This isn't a far reach. This isn't outrageous because it could be a hoax. We don't know. Right, Ed? I mean,
yeah, there's a lot we don't know. And rightfully so. Again, this is a criminal investigation, ongoing high-profile criminal investigation. So there's going to be a lot of information held back, and any good law enforcement investigator would do that as well. I mean, you can't fault them for not putting this all out. They want to hold their cards close to the vest. Yes. So this way they can check the validity of things that they're being told by potential witnesses and or suspects.
Smart Shopper 3603 says, do you think, and thank you for being a channel member, do you think Savannah's words celebrate means mom is no longer with us? We said that last night. Yes.
Yeah, I got that sense.
And we also know FBI Director Kash Patel is going to Tucson tomorrow, a pre-planned trip. He talked about that earlier in the week that he was going to go there. Don't forget, tomorrow is another deadline. Tomorrow, according to the abduction, the ransom letters and the communications, there was the two deadlines, Friday, which came and went, and then there is the more definitive timeline of finality. As they say, these are not my words. I'm listening to it on the news, just like you guys are. But tomorrow's deadline has more finality to it. So I'm thinking that we may hear from the Guthrie family, maybe again tonight, that there may be another Instagram post, because tomorrow is a huge deadline as it pertains to Nancy Guthrie. So we'll listen and we'll see for that. Let me go to some of these super chats. Tracy, thank you for being here and being a member. She said, glad you're covering this. Blessings to you both. Mark, the warehouse manager at Amazon, where I just put my papers in, says, happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you for being a channel member. Ed, there's a job opening there. You want to take that?
No, I'm done.
All right, good. We're done. We're done. You're done. You're done. All right. Thank you for being a member for 30 plus months. The sheriff has some nerve going to the college baseball game. I saw the video of that. Somebody was recording him. Did you see that, Ed?
Yes.
I could, there's two sides to this. Like, okay, yes, it's, he's got a major high profile case that his department is working alongside with the FBI. But what's the guy supposed to do? Stay inside? So I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. Is he supposed to just stay inside and curl up in a ball or just be at the sheriff's station 24/7? Maybe he needed to release to go to a game. I'm not saying he's right. I'm not saying he's wrong, but just let's look at it with an open mind. Ed, your thoughts?
I'm going to stay neutral on this one.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. Like,
he's not running the investigation, but he, the buck does stop with him. Mm-hmm. And I just say from an optics standpoint, it's not a good look.
Nick the Hat is in the building. He says, sends in a $2 super chat and says, great work, gentlemen, from Philly. Nick, good to see you. Mackenzie Jabs, new member. Thank you for becoming a member. Look at that. Pilot's wife gifted 20 DutyRon memberships. Welcome to the new members. Nate J3Z says, and his member 3 months. Thank you for being a member. Thank you. I love this channel. Praying for Nancy's return. We always pray for a miracle, right? Tennessee Vols, go Vols. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge. Thank you, Ed and DutyRon, for the $2. Appreciate the $2. Garden gift, #Ed. You think it's plausible, open mind, that blood is from another event? 84 years young, easily bleed, open door, bop the nose, walk backwards, blood dripping.
As I said, you'd have to do some background investigation to try to determine, when that blood got there. Is it from this incident? Who was the last person in and out of that place before this incident occurred? Right. And then, try to figure it out, because I can't put a time stamp on when that blood was deposited there.
EB363, history mom of the history chick. Evie, thank you for gifting 5. She's always so generous and kind, and thank you for being a member. Tacos Platos, thank you so much for being a member, becoming a member. We appreciate you. There's another new member, Teresa. Thank you for joining back into the memberships. Always good to see you. Best live chat, says Marvin Hicks. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to the chat. #DutyRon, #Ed, and we'll wrap it up, because I told Ed we try to keep this to 30 minutes, and look at where we are, Ed, almost an hour.
Yeah, I'm putting an overtime slip in.
Yeah, thank you. Put it in. Denied.
Lieutenant Prenzo's going to sign it.
Denied. He could pay it. I'm not. Here's a #DutyRon. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Where was it? #Duty. Okay. Thank you, Ali person, AP person. DutyRon. I believe the ransom note described the clothes Nancy is wearing and condition of the house. There are 4 things from what I heard. Now, I heard many different things, but Ed and I will not start going on basic stuff that's put out there. If the sheriff didn't say it, and I hate to say this, but it's the truth. If it's not put out by official law enforcement, I don't believe it. I'm not saying like it's not true, but what I'm saying is there's so much. We've been doing this so long, and we did it in our careers, and now we're doing it as YouTube true crime content creators. There's so much misinformation that's put out there for clicks and views, and so much stuff. I'm not saying that this could be 100% true, but unless I hear it at a press conference, I have to give it listen to it with a grain of salt. Right, Ed?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here's a question about jurisdiction from PETA. Ed and Ron, can jurisdictions that have less experience in major crime immediately, without red tape or fear of judgment, request immediate support from the area with the expertise? We saw it in the University of in Moscow, Idaho. The commander, the captain who was on duty at the time, Captain Lanier. This is my brain. I'm glad I still got it. Captain Lanier from the Moscow Police Department immediately reached out to who?
State Crime Lab and the FBI.
The Idaho State Crime Lab, and then the FBI through channels. Because they were in over their heads. Moscow, Idaho never saw a quadruple murder, not 4 college students knifed to death in the middle of the night. And as soon as his cops got there and he was on duty, he said he drove from his house in plain clothes to the location. The first thing he did is call the Idaho State Crime Lab. And that was the correct decision to make because the Moscow PD could not process that crime scene properly. And yes, to answer your question, absolutely.
It's a mutual aid agreement, so that easily can be done.
Now, Evie's she's got a little partiality to the FBI because she works there. FBI does excellent work. Thank you for that, Evie, and thank you to the men and women in all of the branches of law enforcement and our military. They do a fantastic job. Here's a common one. I've seen a lot of this. Do they consult psychics? No.
Not normally, no.
No. It's very rare.
Usually the psychics, contact the police agency.
Yes. Okay. So let's follow this case closely. Let's stay on this. Ed, your experience as a crime scene investigator with the New York City Police Department is an invaluable asset to the true crime community. More importantly, to the Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace community. You guys know you have many choices to subscribe to, many people who cover these cases, and it's great to have a variety. Variety is the spice of life. So we thank you. We're honored and humbled if you would take a minute to give this video a thumbs up, to subscribe. It's free. If you want to become a member, that's optional. If you want to send super chats, that's optional as well. We read them all. We go over them all. We thank you for all of your support. We have a Buy Me the Cups of Coffee app. We have many different ways off of YouTube that you could support us. And we thank you for being here and being part of this fact-based community with experience. And Ed has a deep Rolodex. So if we have to get in other people from the forensic trade, Ed knows everybody. I'd argue that Ed knows the Pope. I think he has connections to the Pope. But yes, so thank you all. Ed, I want to give you the final word. Sorry, I had to make a little bit of fun, but yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this impromptu live that we just did. Again, I know you can get your true crime fix anywhere you like on the internet. And thank you for your support and for being here with us. And always, folks, always stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
Amen to that, brother. And I love that you end the shows with that and a little bit of an extra piece to this component. If you have elderly family members, make sure you look out for them. Make sure you check in with them and make sure you keep them safe. And now keeping them safe could be anything from you checking in on a daily basis like I do. I call my stepmom every day, sometimes twice a day. I look at her Ring video doorbell camera that I installed on my phone and see if she's okay, if she's coming and going. I tell her not to go out when there's ice on the deck out in front of her house. So reach out to a friend or a loved one, your family member, your neighbors. If they're elderly or if they are special needs, doesn't matter if they're old, young or anything in between. If they have special needs, look out for them, reach out. That's one of the major takeaways from some of these tragedies and some of these bad situations that we have to look at. And as law enforcement professionals, it's always good to look out for people. We can't, say that enough. Look out for your neighbors, look out for your friends. And until the next time, God bless. We'll see you soon. Peace, guys.